Let's review the advantages and disadvantages of different strings, see when you should use them, with or against which play style in Tennis Clash, a sports game published by Wyeth Live Studios. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel Gameplay 365 and to turn on the bell if you like this video. Forehand Counter, Backhand Counter, Long Catch Tier 1, Stamina Shield Tier 2, Critical Tier 3. If those words seem unclear to you, or if you feel unsure about which string is right for you, then this video is for you. Let's start by explaining what strings are and how they work. If you haven't upgraded your cards to levels that satisfy you enough, then strings are consumable items that will help you boost the attributes of your lineup. When I say that strings are consumable items, that means that one string will be consumed for every match you play with it, either you win or lose, either it's a tour match or a friendly match. There are two types of strings in Tennis Clash: regular strings and special strings. Let's talk first about the regular strings. There are 7 regular string types. A lot of players call some of those strings by the name of special strings, but actually they are all called regular strings by the publisher of Tennis Clash. Actually, special strings are more unique, more special than those 7 regular strings because they offer better improvement to the attributes of your lineup. I will talk about the special strings in the next part. Let's start with the first and most common regular string, the nylon string. Nylon strings are the default strings for beginners in Tennis Clash. Their main advantage is that they are free. Their main disadvantage is that they do not buff any attribute because they have no ability. They are free but limited. However, once you have no nylon string left, you will be able to obtain more by watching ads that will appear on the main screen, so they are quite easy to get. Nylon is the most commonly used string in low tours, where most of players are still trying to upgrade their cards and to improve the game. Very often, players will enter the matches with nylon, so this default string can be enough to play in low tours, meaning from Tour 1 to Tour 4, with any playing style versus any other play style, because then both players will play with nylon strings, so there's no impact. The nylon string can also be used in mid-tours, Tour 5 to 6, by players using the high serve big forehand or high serve 2 strong hand style. If they serve well enough and can hit forehand winners consistently, then the nylon string can be enough to win matches in Tour 5 and 6. In high tours, meaning Tour 7 and 8, is extremely rare to see a player choose the nylon string. The rallies are longer in high tours because the overall level of players entering Tour 7 and Tour 8 is higher, and so is the average level of their cards. And that means that the shots will be harder to return and the rallies will last longer than in low or mid tours. That means that all players need more stamina to be able to play the whole match without being short of stamina by the end. And to have more stamina to last longer during the match, players will take a regular string, having the stamina shield. There are 2 such regular strings, Maestro Multi and Joker Chords. Let's talk first about the Maestro Multi. The Maestro Multi will buff your quick catch attribute to Tier 1 and your stamina shield to Tier 2. Let me remind you that the quick catch ability increases your chances of a return at point blank range, and that the stamina shield gives you extra stamina to last longer during the match. Tier 1 means roughly level 1, Tier 2 level 2, Tier 3 level 3. So the higher the tier, the better your chance to activate a special ability. Maestro Multi is one of the cheapest regular strings. 10 Maestro Multi will cost you only 120 gems. Maestro Multi is the perfect string for the serve and volley players. It allows volleyers to keep the stamina bar at the correct level long enough to make the difference during the first part of the match And of course, it allows the volley players to quick catch. But the Maestro Multi can be used with all other builds to play versus any other build. It's very useful since the big update of 7th of May 2020, then the gameplay recalibration patch that was released end of July 2020. Why? Because you can be short of stamina very fast now when you return strong shots, and the stronger the shot you have to return, the more stamina you consume. So it's very helpful to have a string having the stamina shield tier 2 ability, and the Maestro Multi string is the cheapest of regular strings to offer you this ability. The Maestro Multi is very commonly used in Tour 7, almost by default by all players. Counter punchers use it with Kaito, volley players use it with Diana or Leo, high serve big forehand or high serve 2 balanced hands or aggressive baseliners use it with Victoria or Luke. I use this string by default as well in Tour 7, whatever the style I play with, versus any style. Let's talk now about the other famous regular string having stamina shield, the choker chords. The choker chords will buff your stamina shield attribute to tier 1 and your long catch attribute to tier 2. The long catch is a special ability that increases your chances of reaching a ball just out of reach. You're seeing here how the long catch works in matches. So 10 choker chords will cost you 360 gems. That's 3 times more expensive than the Maestro Multi. So what are the advantages of the choker chords? This string can be useful to counter high serve, big forehand or high serve 2 strong hand players. Indeed, it can allow you to make a long catch to have a better chance catching some powerful serves or very strong forehand strokes that will be impossible to return otherwise. It can also help you to counter volley players. The idea is to trigger long catch when you are too far from where the volleys are dropped. However, you should use it only if you have a high stamina stat. Indeed, if you keep activating the long catch ability, that will deplete your stamina little by little, and you end up having almost no more stamina at the end of the match. So what are the disadvantages of this string? Since the gameplay recalibration patch released on end of July 2020, the stamina shield multiplier of this string has been reduced. So the stamina shield multiplier is some kind of stamina protection power to make it short. So using the choker chords can now make your stamina drain faster than beforehand if you trigger the long catch very often. And given that the stamina shield of the choker chords is only at tier 1, the stamina depletion can be very fast with long catch, so you risk ending the matches with a very low stamina bar. Let's talk now about the Swallow Poly string. The Swallow Poly string will buff your critical and long catch attributes to tier 1. Critical is a special ability that gives you a chance of striking a devastating shot. So if you have a build giving you at least one big hand stat and a decent stamina level, then you can benefit from its critical tier 1 and long catch tier 1. Those abilities can be of help to counter the high serve big forehand or the high serve 2 strong hands or the serve-volley styles. 10 Swallow Poly strings will cost you 120 gems, so it's a cheap regular string. But this Swallow Poly string has some disadvantages. The Swallow Poly doesn't have any stamina shield, so it's quite dangerous to use it after the gameplay recalibration patch released on end of July 2020. If your build doesn't have a good stamina stat, this string will drain your stamina very fast and you will end your match with very little stamina left, especially if you trigger long catch often during the match. Moreover, the Swallow Poly only has a critical tier 1, so you don't have much chance to trigger it. To have a higher chance to trigger a devastating shot, you better have at least a critical tier 2 with your string, which is proposed by the Toro Twine. So let's talk about it. The Toro Twine string will buff your quick catch and critical attributes to tier 2. 10 Toro Twine strings will cost you 360 gems. That's 3 times more expensive than the Maestro Multi, and that's the same cost than the Choco Quartz. You can use this string versus volley players if you play with a build having 2 strong hands and enough stamina, which is the case with the low serve aggressive baseliner style, for instance. You will then have a higher chance to hit devastating shots with the critical tier 2 of the string. You may then hit passing shots more easily or provoke force errors from the volley players who might have a hard time volleying back your devastating shots. The Toro Twine has no stamina shield, so you should use it only if you have 2 strong hands and are confident you can end rallies very fast. For example, by using Victoria having 2 strong hands. Indeed, after the gameplay recalibration patch released on end of July 2020, if your build doesn't have a good stamina stat, then this Toro Twine string will drain your stamina very fast, and you will have a lot of difficulty to return shots by the end of matches due to stamina shortage. Another regular string that can provoke stamina shortage is the Punisher Gut. So let's talk about it. The Punisher Gut string will buff your critical attribute to tier 1 and your long catch attribute to tier 2. It also provides a Backhand Counter. A Backhand Counter is a special ability that increases precision when your opponent delivers a backhand stroke. 10 Punisher Gut will cost you 1,300 gems. That's the most expensive of regular strings. So in this video, you are seeing my opponent using the Punisher Gut to try and counter my Victoria playing with the high serve big forehand style. So what are the advantages of the Punisher Gut? This string can be used versus high serve 2 strong hands players. It's almost the only possible use because rare are the builds that have a big backhand in Tennis Clash. The critical tier 1 can be good if you have at least 1 strong hand, and the long catch tier 2 will help you return a lot of balls that are impossible to catch otherwise. What are its disadvantages? The Punisher Gut is much less useful after the gameplay recalibration patch released on end of July 2020. It has no stamina shield, so using it will often forces you to play with very few stamina by the end of the match, and that's what happens in the match that you are seeing right now. In short, if you can't end rallies very fast to win the match quickly enough when using the Punisher Gut, you have a high risk to lose the match due to stamina shortage. Plus, it is quite expensive. In short, it's a double or nothing string, like the Siberian Wire that we are going to see now. The Siberian Wire string will buff your critical attribute to tier 1 and your long catch attribute to tier 2. It also provides a Forehand Counter. So a Forehand Counter is a special ability that increases precision when your opponent delivers a forehand stroke. 10 Siberian Wire will cost you 1,300 gems. That makes the Siberian Wire the most expensive of regular strings, along with the Punisher Gut. In this video, you are seeing my opponent using the Siberian Wire to counter my Leo playing with the high serve big forehand style in a challenger tournament. So what are its advantages? The Siberian Wire can be used versus the high serve big forehand and the low serve aggressive baseliner styles. The critical tier 1 can be good if you have at least 1 strong hand, and the long catch tier 2 will help you return a lot of balls that are impossible to catch otherwise. The Forehand Counter will definitely help you to return with much better accuracy the strong forehand strokes hit by the high serve or the aggressive baseliner player. So what are the disadvantages of this string? The Siberian Wire is much less useful after the gameplay recalibration patch released on end of July 2020. It has no stamina shield, so using it win often forces you to play with very few stamina by the end of the match. And that is what is happening in the match that you are seeing right now. In short, if you can't end the rallies very fast to win the match quickly enough when using the Siberian Wire, you have a high risk to lose the match due to stamina shortage. Plus, it is quite expensive. Like for the Punisher God, the Siberian Wire is a double or nothing string. So you can earn the regular strings by unlocking rare bags, including the points bag, grand bag, elite bag, and king bag. You can also buy those regular strings using gems, of course, except for the Nylon String, which can be earned for free by watching advertising on the main screen. And I have given you the prices for all of those regular strings. So we have just reviewed the advantages and disadvantages of the 7 regular strings in Tennis Clash. Let's talk now about the special strings. So what are special strings? Special strings are strings that can't be purchased with gems in the store all the time, as is the case for 6 of the 7 regular strings we have just seen. Special strings are offered as time-exclusive and limited edition items. That means that you can only buy them during a short period, and you can purchase less than 150 of each of those special strings only. Most of the time, they will be proposed for 3 or 4 days in the store during special events of the year like New Year, Lunar New Year, Valentine, Bastille Day, Halloween, Christmas, or when some tournaments start. Generally, special strings will not be sold alone, but along with gems or bags as special offers. I often buy those special offers that include several dozens of special strings, 2 or 3 king bags, and several thousand gems. Those special offers have good value for money. There is a special string which is not proposed in the store but in an event, and that's the Bullseye String. It can only be found in the prize bags that you win during the Bullseye Challenge. Special strings are more unique than regular strings because they offer better improvement to the attributes of your lineup. In short, they offer either more abilities or abilities at higher tier. You can use them, for instance, in tournaments when you really want to try and get a very good final ranking, or in Tour 8, which is the tour where most of top players go and where you might need enhanced abilities to fight versus them. You can also use special strings at important moments, like when you try to unlock a higher tour. A lot of special strings have been proposed in Tennis Clash history. Let's review the most famous of them. The 2020 Twine was proposed during 2019's Christmas. The Wyeth Wire was offered to Pro Pass subscribers during the Season 10 in October 2020. Those 2 special strings have the following abilities: Backhand Counter, Critical Tier 2, Stamina Shear Tier 2. So you are seeing my Victoria using the Wyeth Wire right now to fight versus a Victoria having a big backhand. Those special strings are very good for use versus aggressive baseliners or counterpunchers having a strong backhand or volley players. The Africa string was proposed during the Africa Day in May 2020. The Spooky string was proposed during 2019 Halloween. Those 2 special strings have the following abilities: Long Catch Tier 1, Critical Tier 2, Stamina Shear Tier 2. They can be used by all playstyles versus any other playstyle, especially versus the high serve big forehand, the high serve 2 strong hands, and the serve-volley style. The Aussie Poly was proposed between 9th and 13th of January 2020. It has the following abilities: Quick Catch Tier 2, Critical Tier 2, Stamina Shear Tier 1. This special string is perfect for use against the volley players, provided you have at least 1 strong hand. Unfortunately, I have no video showing the Aussie Poly in action. The Bastille string was proposed during the 2020 Bastille Day. The Frostcord was proposed during 2019 Christmas. Those 2 special strings have the following abilities: Forehand Counter, Stamina Shear Tier 2, Critical Tier 2. Those two special strings are perfect for use against the high serve big forehand, the high serve two strong hands, the low serve aggressive baseliner, the counterpuncher having a strong forehand, and the serve-volley styles. They are for me the best special strings. The Big Apple Wire was proposed during the Big Apple Open tournament beginning of October 2020. This special string has the following abilities: Forehand Counter, Quick Catch Tier 2, Critical Tier 2. The Big Apple Wire is good for use against the high serve big forehand and the serve-volley styles. You can get the Bullseye String whenever you open a Bullseye Challenge prize bag. So you can get it any time of the year because there are Bullseye Challenges after each tournament. This special string has the following abilities: Forehand Counter, Backhand Counter. So the Bullseye String is good for use against aggressive baseliners or high serve players, provided you have enough stamina when you are playing with the counterpuncher style, for instance. The Bunny Chord was proposed during 2020 Easter. The Anniversary String was proposed during the first anniversary of Tennis Clash in October 2020. Those two special strings have the following abilities: Forehand Counter, Long Catch Tier 2, Stamina Shield Tier 1. They are good for use against the high serve big forehand, the high serve two strong hands, and the low serve aggressive baseliner styles. The Carnival chord was proposed during the 2019 Carnival. The Oktober fiber was proposed during the 2020 Oktober Fest tournament. Those two special strings have the following abilities: Backhand Counter, Quick Catch Tier 2, Critical Tier 2. The Carnival chord and the Oktober fiber strings are good for use against any build having a big backhand or against volley players, provided you have at least one strong hand. The Centurion string was proposed between 12th and 15th of December 2019. The Gucci string was proposed during the Gucci tournament end of June 2020. Those two special strings have the following abilities: Critical Tier 3, Stamina Shield Tier 1. The Centurion string and Gucci string are good for use with the high serve big forehand, the high serve two strong hands, or the low serve aggressive baseliner styles. They are very good for use against volley players, provided you have at least one strong hand. The clay fiber was proposed at the start of the first tournament organized on a new clay surface in August 2020. The Flamenco fiber was proposed in October 2020. Those two special strings have the following abilities: Long Catch Tier 1, Critical Tier 3. They are good for use against volley players, provided you have two strong hands and that you can end the match pretty quickly with very strong passing shots. Indeed, they don't have any stamina shield, so they will provoke stamina shortage if the match lasts too long. The Fortune chord was proposed during the 2020 Lunar New Year. The Harbour chord was proposed during the Harbour Open tournament. Those two special strings have the following abilities: Forehand Counter, Long Catch Tier 1, Stamina Shield Tier 2. They are good for use against the high serve big forehand, the high serve two strong hands, and the low serve aggressive baseliner styles. The grass fiber was proposed at the start of the first tournament organized on a new grass surface in August 2020. This special string has the following abilities: Quick Catch Tier 2, Critical Tier 3. The grass fiber is good for use against volley players, provided you have two strong hands and that you can end the match pretty quickly with very strong passing shots. The Heartstring was proposed during 2020 Valentine. The Holobook Wire was proposed in September 2020. Those two special strings have the following abilities: Backhand Counter, Long Catch Tier 1, Stamina Shield Tier 2. They are good for use against counterpunchers having a strong backhand. The Italian Wire was proposed between the 28th of May and 1st of June 2020. The Toro Twine was proposed between 21st and 24th of November 2019. Those two special strings have the following abilities: long catch tier 2, critical tier 1, stamina shield tier 1. They are good for use against the high serve big forehand, the high serve 2 strong hands, the aggressive baseliner, and the serve-volley styles. The Sakura string was proposed during the Golden Week of Japan, end of April 2020. The Backhand was proposed during 2020 Halloween. Those two special strings have the following abilities: Backhand Counter, long catch tier 2, stamina shield tier 1. They are good for use against the high serve 2 strong hands and the low serve aggressive baseliner styles. Now that we have reviewed the regular strings and the main special strings, let's sum up a bit. Here are the strings for use against different play styles. Against the aggressive baseliner style, you can use the Maestro Multi, the Siberian Wire, or any special string having Forehand Counter. Against the counterpuncher style, you can use the Maestro Multi, or any special string having stamina shield and backhand counter if the counterpuncher build of your opponent has a bigger backhand, or a special string having stamina shield and forehand counter if your opponent has a big forehand. Against the high serve big forehand style, you can use the choker chords or the Siberian Wire if your build has enough stamina, or special strings having forehand counter and long catch and stamina shield. Those are the best to counter this play style. Against the high serve 2 strong hand style, you can use the choker chords or the Siberian Wire or the Punisher Gut if you have enough stamina, or special strings having backhand counter if the high serve opponent has a big backhand, or special strings having forehand counter if the high serve opponent has a big forehand. Against the serve-volley style, you can use the Maestro Multi or the choker chords or the Aussie Poly or the Toro Twine, or special strings having critical tier 2 or tier 3. Finally, you may wonder when should you use a regular string which is different from nylon or a special string. Well, use them when you get matched up against a player who has a lot more stat points than you have, so his total power is much higher than yours. Right before the beginning of any match, you can tap on the big button See All Strings to select the string you want, so quickly check the stats of your opponent, then select the good string to play against him before you start any match. As for the special strings, I have already said that. I'm going to repeat. You can use them, for instance, in tournaments when you really want to try and get a very good result, or in Tour 8, which is the tour where most of top players go and where you might need to fight versus them with enhanced abilities. Of course, you can also use special strings for special occasions, like when you try to unlock a higher tour. Well, I hope you enjoy watching me explain the advantages and disadvantages of different regular and special strings. Then recommend the strings for use against different play styles in Tennis Clash, a sports game published by Wyeth Studios. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel Gameplay 365 and to turn on the bell to stay tuned for new videos of Tennis Clash. Thank you a lot for your support and see you soon in Gameplay 365. Bye bye.